This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We have a heavy slate of stories today, ranging from tragic violence on a playground to complex legal battles and shocking cases of medical and parental neglect.
A Michigan man allegedly killed a teen over soccer.
Attorneys clash over clickbait tactics in Karen Reed's trial.
Reed's civil case reveals massive delays and legal friction.
A toddler suffered severe frostbite while her father slept.
Ring camera footage contradicts a husband's home invasion story.
A teen died after a doctor stitched debris inside.
An Oklahoma couple faces murder charges for extreme abuse.
A 4-year-old was killed in a delivery truck hit and run.
Starting in Michigan today,
A truly senseless tragedy unfolded at Southwest Elementary School in Grand Rapids, Michigan this past Tuesday. An 18-year-old man is in custody after allegedly opening fire on a group of children who were simply playing a pickup game of soccer. According to police, the suspect approached the group and asked to join the game. But for reasons that remain unclear, the children turned him away. This rejection sparked a verbal altercation that escalated with terrifying speed. The suspect reportedly pulled out a firearm and shot a 14-year-old boy. When 39-year-old Savannah Villarreal, a mother of 8 who was supervising the children, stepped in to verbally defend the teenager, the gunman targeted her as well. Both victims tragically lost their lives due to the gunshot wounds sustained during the encounter.
the details provided by Interim Police Chief Joe Trigg are heartbreaking, especially considering that 7 or 8 other juveniles witnessed the entire event. Savannah Villarreal's family described her as a selfless woman who loved children and was only there to ensure the kids could play safely. They mentioned she had been supervising the games because of previous incidents of verbal harassment on the field. The suspect was apprehended shortly after the shooting at a nearby residence. While the Kent County Prosecutor's Office has not yet authorized formal charges, the individual remains in custody on suspicion of murder. This incident has left the local community in shock, grappling with how a simple game of soccer could lead to such a violent and permanent loss of life for a young boy and a devoted mother.
Moving to Massachusetts legal news.
The legal saga surrounding Karen Reed continues to produce high-stakes drama, even after her acquittal in the criminal trial for the murder of John O'Keefe. During a routine status conference for a civil trial on Thursday, the atmosphere turned hostile as attorneys exchanged sharp accusations. The lawyer representing the O'Keefe family, Mark Dillard, took aim at Reed's defense team, accusing them of engaging in what he called clickbait lawyering. This term was used to describe a perceived strategy of creating sensational narratives for public consumption rather than following standard legal procedures. Dillard suggested that the defense was intentionally manipulating the schedule and the public perception of the case to favor their client. This civil litigation is just one of several lawsuits Reed is facing following her. 2 high-profile criminal trials that captivated the nation.
Reed's defense team was quick to fire back against these characterizations. They argued that the accusation of lawyering for a particular public effect was completely out of bounds and lacked merit. The defense maintains that they are simply performing their duties to protect their clients' interests in a complex and highly scrutinized environment. This friction highlights the deep-seated animosity between the 2 legal camps, which has only intensified since the criminal proceedings ended. While Reed was cleared of the murder charges by a second jury, she was convicted of driving under the influence, and the civil court is now the primary battleground for the O'Keefe family's pursuit of liability. The exchange in court on Thursday serves as a preview of the contentious road ahead, as both sides prepare for a full civil trial.
Staying with the Reed case.
During that same status conference in Plymouth, Judge Mark Gildea expressed significant frustration over the slow pace of the civil proceedings. The case has been pending for over 600 days, yet very little progress has been made in terms of depositions. The judge pointed out the sheer number of lawyers involved, noting that there are 22 attorneys in total across all parties. Karen Reed alone is represented by 10 lawyers, while the O'Keefe family has 5. Other entities named in the suit, like the Waterfall and McCarthy's establishments where the couple had been drinking, also have multiple attorneys. Judge Gildea seemed baffled by how a case with so much legal firepower could have completed only 1 deposition since early April, suggesting that the sheer volume of counsel might be contributing to the gridlock.
The O'Keefe family's attorney, Mark Dillard, specifically blamed the defense for these delays. He claimed that out of 19 scheduled depositions, 17 were canceled, often at the very last minute. Dillard argued this was a tactical move to create a false narrative that the witnesses were the ones being uncooperative. He further alleged that Reed's team rebooked these sessions without considering the existing schedules of other parties. This back and forth reveals the logistical nightmare of managing a civil case with so many moving parts and high emotions. The O'Keefe family is seeking damages for the death of John O'Keefe and the emotional distress caused to them. With the judge now pushing for more efficiency, the pressure is on both sides to move past the procedural bickering and toward a resolution in this long-running legal battle.
Now to a Pennsylvania case.
In a chilling case out of Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, a 29-year-old father is facing serious charges after his 2-year-old daughter nearly froze to death. Joshua Ryan Kittner allegedly slept for hours during a winter storm while his toddler was locked outside wearing only a t-shirt and a diaper. When Kittner finally woke up around 5 in the evening, he found the girl on the porch dozing off with feet and toes that had turned purple and almost black. He admitted to investigators that he was hungover from drinking 8 or 9 beers the night before. The child was suffering from severe frostbite and had to spend a week in a hospital burn unit. Temperatures that day were in the teens, and the area had been hit by significant snowfall, making the situation life-threatening for such a young child.
The medical details are harrowing. As the girl's frostbite was so severe it nearly required surgery on her feet. Even after her release from the burn unit, she required a full month of follow-up appointments to manage her recovery. Kittner has been charged with aggravated assault and endangering the welfare of a child. He was arrested and held on a $20,000 bond, which he has since posted. Interestingly, the investigation also led to charges against 2 other women for obstructing the efforts of Children and Youth Services. This case highlights a devastating failure of supervision and the extreme physical toll of environmental exposure on a small child. Kittner's next court appearance is scheduled for May 21st, where the legal system will address the consequences of that afternoon in the snow.
Next, a Washington state investigation.
In Covington, Washington, a man's story about a violent home invasion fell apart after police reviewed his own Ring camera footage. Kyle Cathcart originally told authorities that an intruder wearing a dark hoodie had broken into his home and stabbed both him and his wife Jody. He claimed he fought the man off but was knocked unconscious, only to wake up and find his wife dead. However, when investigators looked at the digital evidence, they found no record of anyone entering the home at the time of the alleged attack. Instead, the camera captured a person exiting the house who matched Cathcart's physical build and was wearing a black hoodie inside out. This discrepancy led police to shift their focus from a mysterious intruder to Cathcart himself, who was subsequently taken into custody for his wife's murder.
The probable cause affidavit details how Cathcart's description of the struggle didn't match the physical evidence. He claimed the intruder poked him in the stomach, but police noted his injuries were only small, superficial scratches. Furthermore, the blood found near the garage door and the specific clothing seen on the camera footage pointed directly back to him. When questioned, Cathcart denied hurting his wife and claimed he didn't own the sweatpants seen in the video, though he did admit to owning a sweatshirt that said Karate Dad. The tragic reality is that Jody Cathcart died from multiple stab wounds in what was initially reported as a random act of violence. This case serves as a stark reminder of how modern surveillance technology can quickly dismantle a fabricated narrative and provide a voice for victims who can no longer speak.
Shifting to a lawsuit in Oregon.
A devastating medical negligence lawsuit has been filed in Oregon following the death of 18-year-old Ethan Cantrell. The teen was working as a logger when he sustained a deep gash on his arm after falling onto debris. He was taken to Good Samaritan Regional Medical Center, where a doctor allegedly stitched the wound shut without properly cleaning it. The lawsuit claims that twigs, pine needles, and moss were left inside the wound, which was then tightly sutured. Shortly after being discharged, Cantrell began experiencing severe pain, swelling, difficulty breathing, and a fever. When his mother called the hospital for help, a nurse reportedly dismissed the symptoms, suggesting the fever was likely caused by COVID-19 rather than an infection from the wound. Cantrell took a COVID test at home, which came back negative, but his condition continued to deteriorate rapidly.
By the time Cantrell returned to the emergency room the next day, his arm was discolored and severely swollen. Despite the doctor suspecting a deep tissue infection, the family alleges that the necessary steps to save his life were not taken in time. The infection, fueled by the organic debris trapped under his skin, proved fatal. The lawsuit names the hospital, the treating physicians, and their medical group, accusing them of gross negligence and failing to provide a standard level of care. It is a tragic story of a young man whose life was cut short by what the family describes as a series of avoidable errors and a refusal to listen to clear warning signs. The legal battle now seeks to hold the medical professionals accountable for the debris left behind and the subsequent dismissal of life-threatening symptoms.
Now to Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma City, a mother and her boyfriend are facing murder charges after the death of 9-year-old Ruger Bowd. The boy was brought to a hospital unresponsive with a collapsed lung and a massive brain bleed, while his mother, Alicia Busey, claimed the injuries occurred during a fight with an older brother. An autopsy revealed a much more sinister reality. Doctors found BB pellets embedded in the boy's internal organs, including his kidney, and multiple bruises in various stages of healing. This evidence pointed to a pattern of extreme physical abuse rather than a single accidental incident. Ruger was declared dead 2 days after being admitted, and the subsequent investigation into the household uncovered a horrifying environment of neglect and violence, affecting 3 other children who lived in the home with Busey and her boyfriend, Stephen Duty.
The details regarding the other children are equally disturbing. Medical screenings of Ruger's siblings revealed that they also had BBs embedded in their bodies, and multiple healing fractures in their limbs, which are classic indicators of long-term systemic abuse. One child even required treatment for a major scalp infection after being hit with a toolbox. Authorities documented extensive medical and educational neglect across the entire household. Busey and Duty have been charged with second-degree murder and multiple counts of felony child neglect. This case has sparked outrage in the community as the full extent of the children's suffering has come to light. The legal proceedings will now focus on the years of alleged torture these children endured, and the failure of the adults responsible for their safety to provide even the most basic care.
Finally, a tragedy in Missouri.
A 4-year-old boy named Tadens Joseph was killed in Kansas City, Missouri, after being struck by a truck delivering Amazon packages. The child was playing in a grassy area of a public park when he entered the roadway and was hit by the vehicle. According to police, the driver initially stopped but then left the scene before officers arrived. A family member actually followed the driver to a subsequent delivery stop to inform them of the accident, but the driver allegedly denied any involvement and drove away. Tadens, who his family says loved pizza and Spider-Man, was pronounced dead from his injuries. The vehicle involved was a marked Amazon delivery truck, operated by a third-party company which is a common arrangement for Amazon's logistics network. Both Amazon and the delivery company are reportedly cooperating with the ongoing police investigation.
Police did identify a subject of interest and took her into custody, but she was later released, pending further investigation. Authorities explained that in fatal crash cases, it can take several weeks to compile all the necessary findings for prosecutors, and a suspect cannot be held indefinitely without formal charges. The delivery vehicle remains in police custody for processing as investigators work to reconstruct the events of that afternoon. Amazon released a statement expressing deep sympathy for the family and clarifying that the drivers are employees of independent delivery service partners rather than Amazon itself. As the community mourns the loss of young Tadens, the focus remains on whether the driver will face criminal charges for leaving the scene of a fatal accident. It is a somber reminder of the risks present, even in neighborhood parks.
That concludes our daily briefing. Thank you for joining us for these important updates. We will be back tomorrow with more of the stories that matter most to you.